Let me throw a scenario at you. You've got a shoot booked. Maybe it's a portrait session, maybe it's event photography, who knows? But the place that you're shooting at is a place you've never shot at before. How do you ensure you get good photos at a place that you've never been to? That's what I want to talk about today. We're at this beautiful log cabin up in somewhere in Ontario. We're doing a little creator retreat, but I've never been here before and I want to get some cool photos. So I'm going to walk you guys through what I would do when I get to a new location and I want to take good photos and how I look for good photo spots. We're just waiting on Anthony and Rich. They're taking a while. Okay, so I need to think of a good spot for a photo here. So you want to be taking into consideration your composition, your background, your foreground, some unique elements of your location. If there's anything that you don't normally see every day, that might be something that's interesting to include. And don't be afraid to try some unique angles. Right now it's snowing and there's some beautiful snowy trees in the background. So I know right off the bat I want to get a blurry background with snowy trees. And I'm going to look for some foreground elements that I can use to frame up a nice background. And I'm going to plot my subject right in the middle. Take a half step this way. I want to line you up right between these trees here. Create some framing here. Low down.
Recording the behind the scenes for that?
I sure hope I hit record.
I sure hope you did.
Another thing you want to take into consideration when you're framing up your shot is the focal length you're going to use. If you use a really wide focal length, you're going to capture a lot more of your environment, and if you want to use something a little more telephoto, a little more zoomed in, you're going to block out some things in your environment. Now, depending on what your environment is, there's probably going to be some things in there that you maybe don't want to include in a photo. Sometimes if you're shooting in a nature park or something like that, you're going to have some garbage cans, or you're going to have just some objects that don't really fit the vibe. I just said vibe.
That's okay.
I don't like, whatever.
Vibe's good. The vibe here is good.
Hashtag vibe. Hashtag winter, fall vibes.
Hashtag fall, snowy, moody, winter vibes.
Where was I? So if there's more of your environment that you don't necessarily want to include in the photo, consider using a more zoomed in telephoto length, like 70, 100, 200 even. It's going to completely change the feel of your photo. Okay, let's find spot number 2. Okay, this is our spot number 2. We're gonna go just over here. We're gonna kind of create a fake wilderness effect where, I mean, we're in a forest, but we're still like, this is a house right here. So we're gonna go just out here, just so you can't see any of the buildings or anything, and it's gonna look like Anthony's trudging through the wilderness, hunting a wolf or something.
I mean, I'm no like Survivor Bear Grylls type person, but I can pretend to be.
It should work. Should be good. I think one of the main things to take away here is your framing of your environment. You can have a really nice place to shoot or maybe not so nice place to shoot, but what you decide ends up in the photo is going to determine whether that photo looks good or not. Like, we're 10 feet away from a house, but when you look at the photo, you would have no idea. So create your compositions intentionally and you're going to tell a better story. All right, on to the next location. Another great thing to look for when you're looking for photo spots is leading lines. Leading lines are any lines in your image that point towards where your subject is. For example, there's this really nice road with tracks in it right here. I'm gonna get Anthony to stand all the way down there and take a photo of him, and the lines on the road are gonna point straight to him. Leading lines. This ended up being a good example of how sometimes ideas don't work exactly how you wanted them to. These photos turned out okay, but as you can see, because everything's white on the ground, the leading lines thing doesn't really work that well. Sometimes it's just about trial and error. Okay, now that I'm indoors, the lens is fogging up. It kind of looks like I have a mist filter on. Oh, look at that. Holy. But I'm going to try and shoot some stuff in here. We have a really nice setup right here. This little living room area with these huge windows letting in some natural light. It's really overcast out and the sun's starting to go down, so we're going to shoot some stuff in a minute. But when you're shooting indoors, especially if you don't have any flashes or anything, you really need to find your light. So it's going to be in your big windows like this. I mean, look how much light's coming in there. And what you're probably going to want to avoid is mixed lighting, which is when you have cold color temperatures like the outdoor light mixing with these warm color temperatures in here, like these lights. God, this lens is still cold. So I'm going to position the person so they're getting a lot of light on their face over here. And I'm going to try and turn off some of these other lights so I don't get a weird color cast. A little too dark for this.